RX Television on rxmuscle.com. This is Iron Debate. I'm your host, Dave Palumbo. Well, this topic is spurred from a showdown that took place on social media yesterday. It's an episode that we've been meaning to have for quite some time, and that is about prep coaches. All different facets about what makes a good prep coach, what makes a dangerous prep coach, what an athlete should look into when selecting their coach of choice for an upcoming show, for off-season prep, so on and so forth. There are so many layers to get to. Let's introduce our panel first. We go to Queens, New York, and welcome a man that we've had on quite some time, FAKHRI Mubarak. And then we go to Las Vegas. He's the man that touched off yesterday, Matt Porter. And then we go a little up the I-95 to New City, New York, and welcoming King Kamali. So, of course, we are honored to have such a knowledgeable panel on with us today as we now go to our Cape Coral studios and welcome in Dave Palumbo. Dave, this is an episode you've been meaning to have for quite some time, obviously accelerated by, I guess, what took place in a back and forth on Facebook yesterday.
This is like Guru Mania 2018. What a way to start the year off, right? With a bang. Yeah, I always wanted to talk about, what makes a good prep coach, what you should look for, how you should advertise yourself. What's out there, because there's so many people that want to find coaches, and not everyone is good for everyone. You got to kind of find a match for yourself. So we kind of got a varied panel. Obviously, there was the controversy yesterday. You're going to talk about a little bit, and we're going to discuss first. And then we can kind of get into how you select the prep coach, what makes a good one and what makes a dangerous one. That's more important.
Again, if you're watching us on YouTube for the first time, subscribe below, like this video. You're not going to miss any of our shows, segments, or daily news updates. The controversy that touched it off, Matt, we're going to go right to this immediately. I'm going to quickly breeze through what you posted yesterday, and you said, it's weird when trainers make posts about bad trainers and to beware of them, blah, 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 or show accolades, how many wins, how many pro cards they helped earn, then proceed to put their website or email in a post to clearly obtain more customers. It's cool. There will always be very stupid people that train others. No need to warn people or make posts, so on and so forth. And I'm going to go to the end. If you're a boss, you don't need to post much of anything about who sucks or what's accomplished, as, quote, the people will speak for you. Now, obviously, this touched off quite a firestorm. It was shared over several times. The question is this: were you referring to anyone in particular when you wrote this post?
The funny thing is, I just impulsively kind of posted that. I was going to go work out, posted on my phone, and then drove away. And I had a compilation of people. Now, it wasn't, I know people want to believe that it was isolated to one person, obviously FAKHRI. Obviously, he holds the torch when it comes to that type of post and all of the generalizations that I made. But it literally, honest to God, wasn't just about him. It was a compilation of certain people. However, I impulsively posted it very fast, drove off. Literally 10 minutes later, I get a DM, screenshots, this and that and the other. And I'm like, Jesus, what the hell why did I do that? First of all, because it was it's not like my personality to do stuff like that. But no, it was a compilation of a bunch of people, because I find it funny whenever people are like, this trainers don't get fooled by dumb coaches and they're so whack and their methods are dangerous and blah, 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 beware. Obviously, there's a lot of idiotic trainers. There's very dangerous trainers. But it's like, if you're doing well, I mean, you don't really need to say that kind of stuff. But yeah, it wasn't towards FAKHRI. But you know what? I'm going to be honest and be like, yeah, he does fall into that. Whenever I mentioned the word pro card, I probably should have left it out, because then people were hashtagging his hashtags on my post and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, great, it's going to signal him. And of course it did. But yeah, I'm going to man up and say that he does fall under that umbrella. And that's fine. That's his own prerogative, the way he goes about things. I was just doing a random post, and that's what happened. It spread. And of course, people like drama, obviously. So they're going to tag their coach and warn him about it. Then he's going to rebuttal and message me. And that's kind of what took off and transpired. And it's been going on all night.
FAKHRI, let's go to you, because you immediately responded with a post of your own screenshotting Matt's post. Do you feel like, again, he just clarified his stance, but when you posted that response, did you feel like his post is directed specifically at you?
All right, so let's break this down, the whole entire post, because I myself am not a born-again Christian. when trainers post about bad trainers, I do that. When trainers post about the accolades about wins, I do that. When trainers post about the website and put them in the email, I just built my website 2 days ago, so I did that. What else can we reference towards me over here? As far as being a boss, I'm sure Matt pages on IG and Facebook are all full of his clients and full of a supplement company, MPA. So to be hypocritical and say that people shouldn't advertise and market when he does the same exact thing, that's pretty hypocritical. If you're Apple, you're competing against Android. If you're Burger King, you're competing against McDonald's. So let's spades are spades. The actual post was about me. I mean, everybody tagged me, and even his own friends tagged me. I mean, even Phil Heath came out in my defense. So, again, like, I'm not this born again Christian that said, I used to do all this stuff and I'm not doing none of this stuff and I'm a good guy and all this bullshit. That's not me. I'm a real person and I've always kept it real from the very first day.
FAKHRI, let me ask you this, because somebody, I'm not going to mention his name, he did sort of infer on your post that you've taken similar shots at Matt in the past, and that this is a kind of thing that, by the very nature of this industry, is something that happens. That Coach A will take a shot at Coach B, Coach B will take a shot at Coach A. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, I've taken a shot at Matt because Matt takes bikini dose steroids, and he claims that he looks better than most of us. So he's basically saying that his superiority in genetics is better than mine, King's, and Dave Palumbo's. Because, 37 grams of Anavar, 30 grams of Tren, 250 milligrams. Hey, I don't care what you're showing, bro. It's how many you're taking. So if that was the case, you would have turned pro 10 years ago. Okay, you look exactly the same as you did 10 years ago. So, Matt, stop bullshitting, man.
Bro, your intelligence just, for you saying that, because you are a genetic elite. I think you turned pro off your third show, USA. Third show. And honestly, he could have beat Phil Heath in the overall in the 2005 USA. That's how good he is. And for him to be that shortly statured, thickly muscled, and him to not believe that a man can build muscle over 15 years on higher dosages, come off, and then get back on TRT and be almost 6 foot tall and 230 and lean, and say I have Olympian genetics, he's out of his damn mind. It's honestly baffling because people like him should understand this. They should know that what I can do is possible. And the fact that this guy right here, not King Kamali, I love him, FAKHRI, told me in a private message, Dave, up until 2000, I was natural at 5% body fat and 200 pounds. Yet I'm glad
King Kamali will tell you, and Dave Palumbo will tell you what I look like natural in 2000. Go ahead, King. Tell my boy.
King will bring you out of this little. Address that, and then address your take on the back.
Matt, in the West Coast, homie. You don't know what I looked like in 2000. I was natural up to 2000.
Dave, moderate this.
King, let's get you in on this.
I'm just
somebody.
It all comes down to I've done this before with Dave. It all comes down to I break a lot of people's hearts when they contact me. It comes down to genetics, and you either have it or you don't. Okay, there's 99.9% of people out there have Mr. Olympia dreams, and those are dreams. That's all it's ever going to be. It's dreams. Now, drugs can take you so far. I love it when I post pictures and somebody says, like just today, all insulin, GH, and test. That's right. It is all insulin, GH, and test. At least I got to the pros, and it's the same insulin, GH, and test that you're taking. It's that I had superior genetics to get me to that point. Now, after saying that, anybody can get to a certain level. Anybody can get to a certain point where you get shredded or what have you. But to get to be in the elites, as Matt just said, and to be in the elites, okay, it's the differential. It becomes minute. It becomes semantics. Who is crazier? Who is? It goes to my theory of the dumber you are, the better pro you make, because you don't want to know what the hell you're doing to yourself. That's a theory of mine. People who are smart and understand what's happening to them, okay, is a big detriment to them when it comes to bodybuilding, because you start overthinking it. What the fuck am I doing to myself? Is this healthy? Should I be doing this? The dumb guy doesn't give a shit. 5,000 grams, bring it on. 60 units of insulin, bring it on. I have seen some ridiculous things in the past few years that is, it's dumbfounding. I mean, I cannot believe that these people are still alive and walking around. But if you think of the whole genetic structure of what I just talked about, yes, it comes down to the genes.
But King, I want you to weigh in on the back and forth that took place yesterday between Matt and FAKHRI. It's seemingly something that you've talked about in past episodes where, again, Coach A is calling a Coach B for whatever reason, and it's a kind of back and forth and, again, figuring out, what's right, what's wrong in terms of advertising yourself as a coach to athletes.
There's a lot of people. I mean, listen, there's a million. I go backstage. I stayed away from the sport for a while, for a few years. Then I got back into it again, and then I went back to the NPC shows, and I went backstage, and 99.9% of people out there don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're absolutely fucking clueless as to what is going on. And I see them backstage. Even people with professional bodybuilders as their boyfriends and girlfriends backstage still don't know what the fuck they're doing. And they're turning around and looking at me. I'm not going to name names, but a certain girl looked back at me with tears in her eyes. King, help me. Those are the words that came out of her mouth. King, help me. And her boyfriend is a top 10 Mr. Olympia competitor. So this just goes to show you the lack of knowledge that's out there. Now, what's happening between FAKHRI and Matt? Listen, FAKHRI is a beast. FAKHRI is, and I've said it 1,000 times before, so many people have contacted me and said, King, I need a coach. Who should I go to? I live here. My answer to them, always, the number one person on my list is always FAKHRI. Okay? Proof is in the pudding. All right? How many people he's turned pro, the level of conditioning. FAKHRI is a conditioning guy. I'm a conditioning guy. I learned from Chad Nichols. Chad Nichols taught us from day one. Conditioning wins shows. Dexter Jackson, conditioning wins shows. That's what it comes down to. That's what FAKHRI is. To promote yourself and try to get in there and mediate, look, man, there's a million people out there that want to compete and want to get out there and just to say that they did a show, and there's so many people out there. My advice is to go to someone and stick with that someone if they have the credentials to back it up. If they're a professional bodybuilder, they know what they're doing to a certain extent. That's the way I would say it.
But again, King, the reason I'm asking you this is because, again, and Matt, I'm gonna go to you actually to clarify on this. Is your issue with what you posted, your issue that a coach would knock down another coach followed by them advertising their own services? If they're not knocking down anyone and they're just saying, hey guys, I'm the best, look at my clients, so on and so forth, you really wouldn't have much of an impetus for yesterday's post. Am I correct on that?
King.
Matt, do you hear me?
Oh, Matt.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, Matt.
I thought you were talking to King.
Do you want me to repeat the question, or did you get
Yeah, I thought you were direct. I was on hold and King was talking so long, I didn't know if it was back to me or him.
No, it's for you. No, again, I wanted to clarify yesterday's post. Would you not have had that impetus if not for you referring to coaches that knock somebody else down only to then promote their services?
You know what? In retrospect, what I did, like I said, it was impulsive because I'm kind of talking down on people that are posting saying, hey, this coach is bad, this coach is bad. Then I'm here posting that those people that say those people are bad, those people are bad. So it's kind of ridiculous. I think this whole thing is laughable and silly. It's a bunch of grown men arguing about a Facebook post, and he's private messaging me, calling me a punk and all this stuff. And I think the whole thing's silly. So yeah, I agree. However, can we go back to him saying that I'm lying about my TRT, and then he claimed 200. Hold on, let's just listen closely. 200 pounds, natural, 5% body fat, but he turns pro on gear at 198 the 2005 USA. It's on gear. Why would you need gear if you're already 200 pounds natural at 5%? A DEXA scan at 6%, a true DEXA, you're shredded at 6%. So maybe that 5% was a caliper, but nonetheless, that's amazing genetics. And I'm not even going to call BS, but now for me, who's 5'11", trained all my life, got off, got back on, and now I am what I am, he's calling me a liar? That's asinine. Unfreaking real. So how's 200 pounds at 5'2", 5% natural?
10 years of training, 600-pound squats, 500-pound bench presses, 600-pound deadlifts. Thank you, man. Appreciate it, brother. I have probably about 1,000 people that could back me up. Sound FAKHRI. I was always the smallest guy in there, but I was still in there in shape. without taking no steroids. So yeah, I'm calling you bullshit. That's fun. So you're foolish with that. You have no idea what you're talking about. Bro, you have no idea what you're talking about. Bro, you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea. Trust me.
You're out of your mind.
I have my phone. I can show you what I should look like naturally. Okay.
Okay, then how are you gonna call me?
I'm 5'5". I've been 280 pounds. You don't think I'm genetically superior to you are?
Yeah.
How am I not going to be 5'5", 200 pounds after 10 years of training?
Moderate this guy.
Matt, are you crazy, bro? Don't start using Wikipedia on us right now. What was the other question? I forgot the other question because you keep on bringing up my natural genetics. I could have been a natural pro.
You say that I'm lying, and I'm like 5'11".
Built natural universe. I've actually turned bodybuilders natural at Team Universe, at light heavyweights.
You said I have Olympia genetics. You have Olympia genetics, not me.
You're saying that your genetics are superior to King, me, and Dave's because you're making an ass out of us saying that you're taking bikini dosages when we all know that those dosages do not add up to what you look like. We understand.
Dave,
we understand your arms are full of symptoms.
All right.
Never go away.
Let's throw Dave into this again. Dave, you want to weigh in? First of all, on yesterday's Facebook back and forth. Let's go to that first.
All right, I think that there's a way. I think that you have to advertise to some degree. Now, I don't really advertise as a coach because I'm on this TV show every day. RX Muscle is my advertising, so I don't have to say, "Hey, I'm available for coaching." People kind of know that, so I'm really an anomaly. I don't want to, I don't have to go there. But other people who don't have this media outlet, on a regular basis, do have to advertise and let people know that what they do. And so I know FAKHRI's proud of the fact that he has these pro card victories and all these people who have success cases. And so, sure, use it. I mean, McDonald's says we serve more burgers than everyone else. I don't have a problem with that. Now, if you're bashing other coaches to try to make yourself look good, that's a different story. But I've never seen that from FAKHRI, other than saying that some other coaches do stupid stuff. But I don't think he really names anyone out unless he sees something specifically that's out there. But once again, if you want to get business, you got to advertise to a certain degree. And not everyone needs to, because there is a lot of word of mouth people, and some people don't want to have 500 clients. I understand that. I know King Kamali, comes on the show, obviously, and one of the benefits he gets out of that is that probably people hire him because they hear him talking about some of the ridiculous things that people do, and that's fine. That's how you promote yourself. I think that's good marketing on yourself. So I definitely think that Matt took a shot at FAKHRI for whatever reason, and I know FAKHRI's a typical, New Yorker and very aggressively defended, that post, and that's great. I think that's good. Debate is good. He doesn't have to agree with it. Then you know what? He's not letting Matt get away with it, and that's fine. But I think and Matt even admitted that. Look, maybe he wrote that impulsively. I think the real argument here, though, now is that FAKHRI doesn't believe that Matt is promoting, himself accurately, and he's saying that he thinks that these small hormone replacement dosages he's using, and then he's going up on stage and competing, are sending a false message to people. I don't know if that's true. I'm not in Matt's house with him taking the gear.
I'm trying to figure out what this whole thing about. I think I finally got it.
King, a little refresher. I competed for a long time, normal doses that bodybuilders take, national level. I came off. Everything cold turkey. My dad passed away. I got this health scare, blood pressure, all this stuff. I got back on TRT because my pituitary wouldn't pulse. I was in the gutter. I needed it. I did HCG, all this stuff for 6 months. Endocrinologist said, you need to go on TRT. I absorbed it like a sponge. I accrued muscle memory. I got back to my 5'11", 230 pounds, single digit body fat. And I post openly what I do, my protocols, my 2 IUs of Omnitrope DH, my 200 milligrams. It puts me at a certain nanogram per deciliter. I experimented with Anavar prescription. I document all this stuff, and I'm nowhere near what I was. I mean, I'm decent, I'm close. But this guy's saying I have Olympia genetics, and anyone with smarts know that you can maintain. King, you're probably 280. You don't have to take much of anything. I'm 230, and this guy's going ape shit about my stats and me posting stuff. I'm open. You can ask me any fucking question.
I don't think FAKHRI went ape shit. I think FAKHRI is exactly what Dave just said. FAKHRI is a New Yorker who, if you put one little thing in front of him and he doesn't like it, he's going to fire back with nuclear bombs at you. That's what New Yorkers do. I had to get used to it when I moved up from D.C. to New York, so I understand where he's coming from. But at the same time, you got to understand something too, because it's the first time you and I are talking ever, right? This is the first time. All right. So I'm letting you know right now that if you put out a post like that, especially on social media, you got to be able to read the whirlwind, my friend. I mean, you did it to yourself. You agree?
And I
said it yourself right at the beginning. You said, I went to the gym and said, what the fuck did I just do?
Yeah, but Matt did say also that it was done impulsively, and obviously, you know, Matt, if you had to think it through and you had to post that again, what would you have changed?
I wouldn't have posted it because it's not my personality. I don't like controversy. I didn't even want to come on this show. I have moved into a new house. I'm busy, but Dave's really conniving, and he kind of cornered me and said that I did this to myself.
That's what I do. Yeah.
But if anyone knows me, I am a low-key guy. I don't really want to get into stuff, and I probably shouldn't have posted that. But sometimes I break out of my shell and I post a little something. And then FAKHRI went ape shit bananas. He's New York. That's cool. I mean, I guess that's the way he is. But it just bothers me because this did stem from, it's kind of hypocritical because about 4 or 5 months ago, FAKHRI made a post, which I can screenshot, about a trainer. That's amazing, dude. You have Olympia genetics.
Yeah, that was natural. I'm 5'5".
You're amazing.
1990. Go on about that post from the past.
So he made a post.
Matt, let me ask Matt a question.
Yeah.
Matt, do you think you're doing false advertising by putting up these pictures, these progress things of yourself taking 12.5 milligrams of Anavar and HRT dosages of stuff, and then saying, don't you think that's sending a message like you got some kind of magic secret that you're going to give to your clients if they come to you? Oh, I'll keep you nice and healthy. And that's not the case, because if you get a top level national guy, you're going to put him on a major stack. You know that. You're not putting him on 12 milligrams of Anavar.
No, it's actually 12.5 times 3. That's 37.5. But no, I put a disclaimer and I explained, I accrued this in the past. Obviously, I did the groundwork, so I do have to explain myself a lot because, it can come off like I built this from the small dope.
But why would you even post that then? What would be the purpose of posting that?
People want to follow. They follow me through me quitting, coming off, what I went through. I'm documenting everything. Okay. And it's good stuff. People have actually learned a lot from it that message me. Obviously, people that just jump on the boat and just see it firsthand, it's going to be misrepresented. They aren't going to know the details, and maybe they don't have time to know the backstory, and I understand that.
So it's a lifestyle video for you, more or less. Is that what you're saying?
It really is. In this current day and age, Dave, with all these passings and 10,000 grams and all this shit and the crazy stuff we've been seeing, I think it's a good thing. And whether someone wants to believe me or not, man, I honestly don't care. I know the truth in my heart, and I think a lot of smart people that have the foundation and know that what I'm doing is not outlandish. Dave, you know. I mean, I know you're kind of neutral and you have to moderate this shit, but let's be real here. And in fact, he's New York or whatever. That's the way he is.
Yeah, you know what, Matt? I could take an HRT, dosage of testosterone and look pretty good, in my mirror at home in the gym. If I was going to get back on stage like you did, I guarantee you I would up the dosage at least for 6 weeks prior to getting on stage. And I might say, well, look, I only did HRT and a couple of milligrams of Anavar. But meanwhile, for 6 weeks before that or 4 weeks before the show, I might have gassed it up a little bit just to really fill myself out. I mean, was that the case with you?
What are you talking about? I've documented everything that I did for the
show. Yeah, but no one was there with you. I don't know what you were taking in your house. No one can prove that. You didn't go get drug tested or anything.
Hey, I'll tell you exactly what I took. It's already posted.
Well, I mean, you can say it, but that doesn't mean people are going to believe it. That's what FAKHRI's saying.
That could be any coach. That could be anybody.
Listen,
Matt, let me just ask one question, and I'll shut up for the next 10 minutes. Please. One question. You prep. I give you props as a contest prep coach. You've been around for a long time, okay? You get a lot of your clients from Geared Up, which I think is like getbig.com, which I shouldn't even bother going on there because everybody's like a bunch of cult followers. But you're going to tell me that you're more genetically superior than your own clients, and they take less than you, or they take as much as you, or they take more than you. Which one is it?
It varies with clients.
Okay. So
there's no set dose for anyone. What's your exact question?
There is some type of dose for everybody. Some people grow on 500 milligrams of test, 750 or 1,000. You can't tell me you're putting natural level competitors on 250 milligrams of test per week.
I'm not. I never claimed I was.
So you're genetically superior to everybody else, all your clients as well.
Am I genetically superior to all my clients? Absolutely not.
That's what you're stating right now.
No, I'm not. Have you seen my body? I don't even look that good, bro. I don't even look that impressive.
You look exactly the same, bro.
I appreciate that.
2 pounds lighter.
And you look very similar. You look very similar when you won USA's at 2005 on gear than you did probably 200 pounds, 5%. Probably very similar.
No, I actually did it, but I appreciate the compliment.
Man, isn't the bottom line here just to make money and to make I mean that's the whole point, is to make some money. And if you got to advertise yourself to get out there and do what you have to do, I mean, I do it all the time on my Instagram. I actually hate working with top level guys and girls because it's a nightmare. Because 99.9% of the time they don't listen to you anyway. I like working with the beginners, and I said it once, and Dave, he loves it when I say this, okay? If you put a blind albino chimp as Phil Heath's coach, Phil Heath will still be Mr. Olympia.
I actually had that.
Find somebody from zero and create something out of it, like I've done many times, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back because I can't reach. I wish I could, but I've done it many, many times. Created something from mush to actually something. We're trying to make some money here, guys. I think everybody's FAKHRI is one of the best. That's all I got to say about that. FAKHRI is one of the best, and Matt seems like a nice guy, and shouldn't have put out that post.
You know, come on, I got to follow up. I want to follow up with something because King made a very good statement. First of all, everyone on this show I consider a top level, coach. That's why I wouldn't have anyone on the show, on this specific show, if that wasn't the case. So Matt, FAKHRI, King, I think you're all very knowledgeable. You're scientific in your approach. I think that, I consider you good coaches. Now, I think there's a lot of coaches out there that are not good. So even though we're arguing here and we're discussing, I still have mad respect for everyone on this panel. Now, having said that, I agree. I like King, I enjoy working with people that are up and coming in the sport because I think they are more appreciative. They listen to you better. You get more. When you work with top guys, you get headaches. I got to take my hat off to FAKHRI because he can put up with a lot more bullshit than I know King and I can put up with, because you deal with a lot of guys that must drive you freaking nuts, FAKHRI.
A lot of novices, man. That's why I got the pro cards, because I
know, but you work with pros too, and these guys will drive you crazy because they'll blame you if they don't do well, even if they look good. They'll text you 4,000 times a day. You know how that goes.
Yes, sir.
They're absolute fucking nightmares, man. The pros are the worst. Capucine, your girl, my girl. You just did an interview with her. She's been cracked out for a week now, party. She hasn't eaten one meal, hasn't drank one fucking cup of water. She's been partying her brains out, and she sent me pictures today, and she looks better than 80% of the pros out there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Fucking amazing.
King, this is a point that you've brought up before about how anyone is saying, I had your line written down somewhere. It was a great quote. But again, anyone can work with somebody who has great genetics. FAKHRI, we had you on Guru Mania Part 1, and you made that exact same point. Because I think the topic then, I believe it was the 2015 Olympia, and they were going to have a battle of the gurus. And, we were discussing who was invited, who wasn't invited, and you brought that exact point. So, you know what? Let's settle and let's move on now. Again, we talked about coaches that deal with top-level Olympian athletes, and we deal with coaches that are training up-and-comers, NPC competitors. How should they advertise? Let's talk about the top 3 things that a coach should be putting out there, aside from knocking anyone down, touting their own benefits. King, let's go to you first on this one. You're a coach. What are some of the top 3 things that an athlete should know about you want to put out there for aspiring IFBB professionals?
Well, the number one thing for me is communication. That's the if you want to ask me a question, say, hey, King, what's the secret to being a good coach? It's communication. The coach that sits there and comes and sees you every hour on the hour, the day before the show, 2 days before the show, checking you out, making adjustments left and right. Okay, let's pull back here. Let's push a little bit more here. Let's do this. Sit down, elevate your feet. All these little things. That's what a good coach does. Okay? It's the communication factor right there. There are some coaches who don't give a rat's ass because their names are all the way up here and people think they're the greatest. But let me tell you something, man. Just in the past week, no, excuse me, that's wrong. I shouldn't say. In the past 2 weeks, I've had a top 3 Olympian contact me and ask me what are my rates and this and that. You know what I said to this person? I said, go back to the first person you worked with because that's when you looked your best. And he was shocked. He goes, what are you talking about? You're not interested? I'm like, I have no interest. Go back to the guy who knows your body, and that person will get you back to the mountaintop again.
I'm glad you brought it up, Matt. I'm going to go to you next on this one because, again, that kind of leads into what does make a good or great prep coach. We talk about different angles. One, we talk about someone who just has this phenomenal knowledge of diet, nutrition, supplementation. But then King brings up another point, and that is maybe the best coach is the one that knows you the best. Where do you fall on that?
I agree. King's referring to people that have turned pro, looked amazing, tight waist, not blown out abdomen, and they look their absolute best, they're peaked, they're polished. Then they want a new and tried and true, someone that's maybe more aggressive. They go to that, they blow out their physique, they're done. I agree. They probably need to go back to what worked at the beginning. What makes a great coach? I think someone that's trial and error. They've been in the trenches. They've competed several times. They have a track record of themselves to be consistently conditioned. I personally think if you don't have that good of genetics or medium genetics or in the middle of the road and you're able to make the most out of it and you do place well and win shows and you nail it through your knowledge and knowing yourself, that's a great coach rather than a genetic freak because things are a little easier for them. I think turning people that have piss poor genetics, basically turn shit to gold, those before and after pictures say a lot. Core insertion, bad muscle bellies, endomorphic somatotypes, where their body's just big bone or husky. You get them shredded. That's a before and after picture that I'd want to see in a coach. Not like a Phil Heath, like King said, you can feed him black-eyed peas and Outback like Ronnie and be shredded. In case as your gallon of water, you use barbecue sauce.
No, it's funny because, even on our show, Ask Dave, Dave gets a lot of questions pertaining to Ronnie Coleman, almost as if, laughably enough, they have genetics that are remotely similar to Ronnie Coleman. FAKHRI, let's go to you on this one because, again, you do make it a point to mention how many people you've turned pro from the NPC level. And, again, that is one of your calling cards, and it's a true calling card. But, again, we talk about genetics. We talk about what King brought up earlier and being able to tell an athlete, look, you're just not cut out to be good enough. What are the first things you look for an athlete? What are the first things they should be looking at you as a coach?
Well, I mean, this is a sport, and in the sport, winning in numbers count. So, that has to count for something. Okay, now as far as being a good coach, yeah, King is 100% correct, and so is Matt. You have to care for your client. The client has to care for himself. There's no way for you to motivate somebody if they don't have motivation for it. It's impossible. Okay, Matt can show all his pictures and motivate everybody, and they won't be motivated unless they motivate themselves. King was one of the best bodybuilders in his time, and if they're not motivated, they're not going to do it. So was Dave, So motivation has to come from within, Now, if the client has that and has the passion, I believe that anybody could probably win a local show. I really do. And I believe most people could go into a national show and place top 5, top 10 just based on conditioning alone, especially with the shitty-ass conditioning that we see nowadays. Now, to win a pro card nowadays, it's not like when we were competing, when only one person won the pro card. You have shows that you have 72 pro cards coming out of. So if you're not winning pro cards at this level as a coach, you're not doing your job. The competitor itself, he has to want to win. He has to want to get that pro card. He has to want to become the bodybuilder or the competitor. We're there to push him, but our knowledge, I have 28 years in the sport. I'm like RoboCop. When I see something, and I'm sure you guys are the same way as good coaches, you pretty much like, and you can see what's wrong with the person. Some tie-in, something that's off. So, we see that as great coaches. So that's all around. That's what makes a great coach.
Dave, I want to go to you because I don't know if this is a question that I've ever asked you before in all the years that I've worked with you, and then Ask Dave. Again, Ask Dave and RX Muscle, in a sense, does give you a platform as a coach to display your knowledge for athletes to see and then eventually contact you. When you were competing, I don't know if you ever had necessarily a prep guru. I know you talk about doing your own diet and so on and so forth, but let's assume that is the case. If you were competing today, what are you looking for specifically in a prep coach?
Well, I had my friend Doug Wentz help me a lot, and he was a Bob Grushkin guy. So I was using a lot of the Grushkin techniques initially. George Farrar would have you believe that he helped me, but he didn't. But, other than, politically maybe. To me, knowledge is very important because I am the kind of guy that likes to ask a lot of questions. I like to know, and I did this in school, I want to know why. Why? How does this work? What's the mechanism? Why am I doing this? And so I need a coach who can answer those questions. And that's the kind of coach I've always been, because I'm like a scientist. I like to know mechanisms, and I like to educate people. So people do very well with me, guys who like to ask a lot of questions, women that like to ask a lot of questions. They want to know what's going on. They want, answers. Okay, so I take a very analytic approach, and, I try to quantify everything so that I can answer people's questions as to why they're doing the things they're doing and tell them why they shouldn't be doing things that they shouldn't be doing. And so people feel very comfortable with that. So the people who, like I said, who ask questions flock to me. Okay, and I get a lot of those people. Sometimes the pros don't really care as much. Now, once again, I want to preface this. I think that FAKHRI is one of the finest prep coaches out there, and he has probably the best track record with winning pro cards. But that also means that a lot of guys who are at that level of trying to get the pro, or women are trying to get at that level of trying to get a pro card, are going to him. So just because you don't, as a coach, maybe have 600 pro cards under your belt doesn't mean you're not a good coach. I have a lot of, I don't even count them. I know FAKHRI counts them. I don't count how many pro cards I have. He has more than I do, but I have pro card people. But I also have a lot of regular people that I get in shape every day, or people like King said, or I think FAKHRI said, you can pretty much get anyone in good enough shape to win the local show if they put 100% into the equation. And I get a lot of gratification out of those people. So winning, having 100 pro card people under your belt doesn't mean you're the best coach. It just means you have a lot of people who are close to getting their pro card, and you were able to bring them over that finish line. So I think when you're looking for a coach, and that was really the question, how you should advertise yourself for coaching. Tell people what your qualifications are. Here's what I've accomplished. I think that's very important. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Okay. Here's what I believe. Here's what my strengths are: communication, educating people. As far as Dave Palumbo goes.
Dave, let me say one thing here though. Sure. I think I agree with you, and it's good to be that knowledgeable and analytic, and know the science of the sport. But it gets to a point where I believe that you have to have someone who says yes, be a yes man. Just listen to your coach. Don't get too technical towards the end. That's my theory.
Right? Yeah, that's fine, King. But I'm saying
if I'm telling you to eat white rice, do it.
Yeah, but when you Right. No, but when you're picking a coach, if you are the type of person that wants to know why you're eating white rice, then I would be a good coach for you. Whereas someone like you're more of a taskmaster. Here, I'm going to tell you what to do. I got experience. I know what works. Listen to me. I don't want to be debating with you what we're doing. And to a certain degree, all of us want that also. But I'm a little more in the sense of I'll answer those questions for you. But you know what? You'll be on site with them. So you have other advantages over what I might not do. You might be there holding their hand, whereas I'm having them send me pictures every couple of hours. So we all have different strengths and weaknesses as coaches, and you have to find as a competitor what you feel, what resonates with you, which coach you meld with.
Matt, let's go to you on this.
On the flip side of what King said, you have to be a yes man. True. But you also have to be a no man too, because I feel like you have to be brutally harsh. I personally am with people, like if they're delusional, I don't just accept their money if they're like, I want to turn pro, I want to do this by a year, blah, blah, blah. I will tell them, start up the ladder, win your overall state show, maybe junior show, win 4 overalls at a state show, not just second in your class or first. Like, I'm blunt with people. You have to definitely tell them no. I think, don't just collect paper. Everyone just wants to collect paper, and I understand majority of people do that. But you also got to be a no man in that sense. King's right in his sense. But I'm saying on the reverse side, there is an aspect to say no, and people are.
But you guys all agree that the competitors nowadays are all pussies.
They're spoiled.
Come on, Dave.
They're
Come on,
spoiled.
Dave.
They're spoiled.
Fucking pussies. They will not. They don't want to suffer. Nobody wants to suffer anymore.
Well, because people think it's
you have all
drugs.
these YouTubes with pushing high dosages and this much gear, and this is so normal nowadays with these sensations and people that are pushing all this gear. It's easy, right? They don't want to work hard. This is 2018.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've done this before. We've done shows about this, but in general, listen, man, I understand. I was competing against Ronnie, Dexter, Kevin, Flex, and we all had the same coach, Chad. And the man showed me no mercy, no compliments for 10 years with him. I never heard him say one good thing. It was always his wife. Kim would immediately call me back. Okay, he thinks he looks great. And then she would hang up. So that's the mentality that I have. Shut the fuck up, suffer, Pay your dues and you'll get there. And I think that's the same mentality that FAKHRI has with his clients.
No, and I think that's to clarify. That's the point that King was making as far as being a yes man, in the sense that you're an athlete, you're entrusting a coach to do right by you. So essentially, you're not in a position where if they're telling you to do something, you're going to be questioning that. Matt, I want to go back to you because, you know, we talk about qualified coaches, and there are a couple of different layers in which I want to ask you this question. Nowadays, it seems as if somebody who's accomplished anything, be it in the pro ranks, be it winning a national qualifier, becoming pro, or so on and so forth, they then become a coach. There has to be, I know we're talking about what makes a great coach, but in my understanding, and you can tell me if I'm completely off base, you have to have some baseline knowledge of diet, supplementation, you know, this, from a scientific approach beyond just your own prep process. Right now, I look at prep coaches, and I almost look at this as like a fan base sort of a thing, right? Like, I have my favorite IFBB pro, I follow them. So by that somehow it qualifies them to be my coach because I'm their fan. How much do you see into that, and how much is that dangerous for somebody to come out? They might not have the same baseline knowledge as you, as King, as FAKHRI, as Dave, yet they purport themselves to be a diet guru or a coach.
That's very common. It started more prevalent just as recently as like 2012. Honestly, literally 2012, for whatever reason, 2011 was the breaking point when like there were coaches online and forums, and then it started to become wildfire on Facebook, where like people were just like, this is a no-brainer. I'm an idiot, but there's thousands of other idiots that'll follow me. Just like YouTube celebrities. Idiot, but they have idiot subscribers. So it's very easy, and it's easy to capitalize on dumb people, and that's kind of what people are doing. But yeah, they'll do one show, they'll maybe place top 5, they'll put their NPC competitor little hashtag or little preface at the top, and they're ready to go. They believe their own BS, they're confident in what they do, they're delusional, but they believe their own bullshit, so they're going to be confident, and confidence comes off as awesome to the people that's a newbie and they don't know any better. I was always scared. I had to do years and years to finally get pushed to feel comfortable to coach people because I'm like introverted and people had to talk me into it. But I know everyone's different, so some people are just an extrovert and they're just ready to rock after their first show. That's what you have to watch out for. And I think that's what my post was towards, people that are good coaches talking shit about the newbies and watch out for them and be warned, because there are a lot of bullshit con artists out there. And they do crazy protocols and they copy and paste and all that BS, but it's what are you going to do? It's inevitable. This is the day and age we're in. So,
King, let me go back to you. I think we may have lost FAKHRI, but King, again, to expand on that point, you know, again, you brought up the point about communication, but again, that's with the understanding that someone like an aspiring athlete knows who King Kamali is. They know what King Kamali, or we got FAKHRI back, they know what King Kamali has accomplished, right? But how do you, as an athlete, weed out those that don't have that kind of baseline knowledge? What are some of the questions that an athlete should be asking their coaches to know they know what they're talking about?
Just have an initial, with every single person that contacts me, I always have a conversation over the phone. I want to talk to them first, so they get to see what kind of personality I have. I see what kind of personality they have. And during that conversation, you can figure everything out. You can understand if someone's a lot knowledgeable, somebody understands what they're talking about, or someone that just wants your money. These coaches that Matt was just talking about, they are all cookie cut, saying to send the same exact diet to the same exact, you know, to 50 different people, and they don't know what they're doing. And, you know, again, it comes back to the best way to figure out who's the best coach out there is look at their track history. Look at what they've done. Look at what they've accomplished. And don't just look at the professional athletes. Look at the amateurs and what they've done with the amateurs. Okay? That's why when you go to my Instagram page, I demand pictures from every single one of my clients every morning after cardio and every evening pumped up when they finish working out. I put these pictures up every single fucking day, as much as they hate it, especially the girls, you know, because they have to put their makeup on and whatever. I put these pictures on. People can see the transformations, and it's amazing. It always at the same time, right around the 4-week out mark, I start putting 16 weeks out pictures, 4-week out pictures. Then I get 1,000 people contact me. How much do you charge? What do you do this? How can I get in touch with you? I want to look like this girl. How did she get rid of her cellulite? And blah, 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 blah. It comes down to making sure that the person that you're dealing with knows exactly what to do with different types of bodies. That's what it comes down to. Anybody can get Dexter Jackson ready for a show. Give me some kid from Bangladesh, okay, who's walking around with, with a hump on his back, and get him to become something. Then you got something. Then you got someone there.
FAKHRI, let's bring you back now that we have you with us. Okay, we're talking about sort of the dangerous breed of coaches, and these are falling under two different categories. One being the YouTube sensations who are, suggesting very aggressive protocols, which again teeter on lethal. And then you have somebody who just placed top 5 at an NPC show. Now they're a prep coach, and they're suggesting diet plans, whether or not they have any sort of baseline knowledge. Your take on that, because again, they are essentially competing with guys and girls who are coming to you for your services.
Yeah, I think social media has been one of the greatest things to ever happen to us, and one of the worst. Social media has exposed a lot of people to believe that after placing top 10 at an NPC qualifying show, you can become a coach. The internet has created a lot of geniuses by reading stuff and thinking that they know how to prep people because they know how to use these big words by Wikipedia and everything else. It comes down to knowledge, and it comes down to like what King said. If you could take somebody that's a novice and get them to to that national level and God willing that pro card, that's what makes you a good coach. A good coach is not somebody who could we all have people that come to us and email us and send us their pictures, and we're like, shit, this guy has incredible genetics. She has incredible genetics. How easy is that to turn pro? I mean, I've turned people pro in 2 weeks, one show to a national show to a pro card, and then I've had people that I've worked with for 5-6 years that it took them that long to turn pro. So I think the track record is most important, and, creating and helping somebody from a novice all the way to a pro is what is, considered a great coach. It's not somebody who can coach somebody with great genetics. I wish I could coach Phil Heath. I wish I could coach Dexter Jackson. I wish this and I wish that. You know why? Because then I could charge $8,000 to $9,000 to $10,000 like the other coaches do. But the truth is that we're prepping people that don't have those type of genetics, but we're turning them pro. We're making them the best they can be, and that's what's satisfying.
Dave, let's get you in on this for our final words. Spotting and weeding out quote unquote dangerous coaches.
Yeah, I think that, first of all, just to say that everyone wants to be a coach nowadays out there. And, that's one of the reasons I started my Secrets of Becoming a Diet Guru course I give every 4 months. The next one will be in the beginning or the end of February 24th, out here in Cape Coral. It's because I want to educate people. Because I think, there are guys that are only just getting into it, and they want to coach people because they see this the ability to make money, and it's something that they love to do, and no one's teaching anyone. And there's no school you can go to. So that's why I started the whole course, and I think that's why it's so popular. And we book out, these guys. I set up a course, and in usually a month it's booked out, or I can't even fit any more people in, because people want to make money. They like what they're doing, and you can make over 6 figures a year as a coach nowadays. Now, having said that, when I was at the Nationals in Miami, I was looking at all the competitors up on stage, and there was like 900 people or something like that, 860 people. I'm thinking, every one of these people need a coach. I can't possibly coach. Let's say every one of those people came to me and said, Dave, I want you to coach me. I couldn't do it. There's too many people. And then I started thinking about, well, how many people compete throughout the year at all the shows? Oh my, there's thousands. So there's never going to be a lack of competitors who need coaches. So if Joe Blow, who did one show, it steals 5 people, to coach for the next 3 months, I'm not losing anyone, okay? If I lose someone, I gain 3 more people the next day. So there's plenty of people to coach. So it's silly to be afraid of people stealing people. To me, I'm afraid for the competitors, because there's a lot of people that are just unknowledgeable out there. And I've been critical of this for years. And that's why I said, hey, stop putting this process down. Realize that there's a lot of people competing now. Everyone needs coach. You better start training these guys, because you can't just keep all the knowledge to yourself. That's selfish. And so that's why I started that whole process. So, yeah, there are novices out there, but the bottom line is the only way to really become a good coach is to start coaching people. So yeah, you might screw up a few people in the beginning. So what I tell guys that are just starting out, I said, learn what you're doing, take a course like mine or go online and study, you know, but start coaching people, even if you got to do it for free just to get the experience. Because there's two components to coaching. It's the knowledge you have and it's the experience. And you cannot buy experience. You have to just go out there and do it.
Dave, you perfectly transitioned into the next part that I wanted to bring up. Again, you're watching Iron Debate on rxmuscle.com. Again, if you're watching us on YouTube for the first time, hit subscribe below. You're not going to miss this or any other future show segments or updates. And that is the ethical side of coaching. When it comes to, quote, athlete stealing, when you're, quote, poaching an athlete, or I guess what I would call reverse poaching, when an athlete will, and this happens, whether we want to admit it or not, I'm sure it's happened to each and every one of you guys in this panel and to Dave, where athlete goes up to another coach or goes up to one of their relatives, goes up to their wife and says, hey, listen, I just placed this at this show. Could you have brought me in better? So let's go with those two scenarios. Kim, we're going to go to you first on this one. If you hear that another coach actively or inactive or indirectly poaches one of your clients, how do you deal with that?
It is what it is, man. I mean, Dave explained it. Go with someone you feel comfortable with. It happens all the time. Listen, man, the elite have to stick together. I'm a firm believer in that. When it comes to me, there's not an ounce of jealousy or anything like that. There's too many fish in the sea. I'll admit it right now. I've called FAKHRI many times and asked him for his advice. I tell you right now, I've done it. I've called Mike Cox down in Louisiana, who's one of the best coaches down in the South. I still talk to Chad. When I don't understand something or something comes up, for example, a vegan, and I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with a vegan? I'll call somebody and say, hey, how do you handle a vegan? So it comes to that. Listen, you got to put a lot of this stuff aside, okay, and understand that this is a very selfish sport, okay? Very, very, very selfish sport, right? One person, how many fucking coaches does Ramy popped up to? From this guy to that guy to this guy. I'm sure he's going to change coaches again. I mean, it goes back and forth. You can't take this thing personally. It's business, man. Move on. Somebody else is going to come along, and their money is just as green as the other guys.
Matt, again, one of your athletes shows you a text message from a rival coach, and it clearly says, hey, I could bring you in, yada, yada, yada. You'll win your next show. How do you respond to that? Do you approach that coach, or do you say to your athlete, hey, look, if you truly think you can do better with them, God bless?
Actually, kind of what you just said, the second part. I mean, if that's in their nature to hop around like that, then usually what happens, if people follow me or follow any other coach, they kind of understand their personality, what their morals are and all that stuff. So you like people attached to like people, you know what I mean? So, just like certain people have their followers. So usually I get pretty good people. I'm blessed with that. But if that happens, then by all means, adios. If that's a better fit for you, then it's a better fit. What does happen a lot with me and has happened in the past, a client will hire me and still be with another coach, but not tell either of us. I start taking over. Then I get a message from the coach saying, I'll see the coach post, like, I brought this guy in and I actually did his last week. And then I'm saying, no, I did it last week. And it's like a girl fight, a cat fight. And us as coaches, we didn't know any better. And it's like we have animosity towards each other, but it's really the client that played us. And I've actually become really good friends with some of those coaches that had happened with. But that happens a lot with me, and it just sucks that the client can't be a man and just cut off ties and go with someone else or just stay true to the initial person. So it is what it is. There's going to be shitheads out there, and that's just what it is.
Well, FAKHRI, let's go to you because, again, we talked about earlier in the show the New York nature where, again, if somebody crosses you, you're going to respond. So let's go with two scenarios. One, somebody steals your client, the exact same scenario I gave to Matt, that your athlete literally shows you a text message from a rival coach saying, hey, come with me, you'll win your next show. That's one scenario. Scenario B, athlete comes up to you and, again, it says, hey, look, so on and so forth's coaching me, they're not cutting it or whatever. I may be interested. How do you deal with that kind of a situation?
Man, let me tell you something. I've coached a lot of people, especially in the East Coast, that I have paid their rent, I have paid their food, I have flown them to shows, I have sponsored them, I have prepped them for free, and I've done a lot of other stuff that no other coach has ever done for them or will ever do for them. and yet they've left to go to other coaches. This is a selfish sport. This is a sport that people do not have loyalty in. Unfortunately, that's the case. Now, do I get mad when people go to another coach? No, because how many people join the NPC every single day? And if you want to go to another coach, that's fine. Actually, what's very interesting is there's a few coaches that have reached out to me, top coaches in bodybuilding, men's physique, coaches that have actually said, listen, this person, your client, has reached out to me. What do you think about me coaching them? Would it be okay? Now, that's what you call respect.
Yeah.
Because I will do the same exact thing to them. So respect is respect. No matter if you're a bodybuilder, you're a construction worker, you're whatever you are, there's loyalty involved in life. And if you have that loyalty, you have the respect for somebody, that's fine. I don't get mad when somebody else goes to somebody else because I know what I could do with my job. I'll give you a great example. Guy Sereno, me and him are really good friends. It came to the point that Guy was not placing well at the Olympia, even though we had won shows, even though he was coming in peeled, but he was not placing well at the Olympia. And it was destroying our friendship. Not as far as a friend, but we were emotionally attached to each other because we could not understand why he could not place well at the Olympia. I told him, Guy, I said, you should go to work with Chad Nichols. He was like, you don't want to work with me no more? I said, I'm sorry, Chris Aceto. I said, go work with Chris Aceto. And he did go to Chris Aceto, and he has done well with Chris Aceto. I have no problem telling anybody to go work with somebody else if that's for their best interest.
Dave, final word on this one, because you have coached so many athletes, both these scenarios where somebody has come up to you, is working with somebody else, or someone has approached one of your athletes. How have you handled it in the past?
I got to address the Guy Sistonita thing for a minute because I helped Guy get his pro card, and then he went to FAKHRI, and FAKHRI's full of shit. He sent it to Aceto because Guy will drive you out of your fucking mind because he'll call you 6,000 times a day and text you 4 million times a day. And I love Guy. He's high maintenance.
I didn't say that, Dave. You did.
He's very high maintenance. That's why FAKHRI sent him to Aceto.
I love.
Aceto loves that. All right, what I want to say about this is that I have no problem when people leave me or go try other things. I actually encourage them. That's not a problem. What I have a problem with is coaches that poach athletes. And I'm not going to mention names. We all know who they are. You're backstage. No one gave a crap about your athlete. You're backstage with them. They're about to win the Nationals, the NPC Nationals or the USA Championships. And all of a sudden, whoof, all these guys are like hook, line, and sinker into them. Oh, I can get you to the Olympia. I'll help you win the Olympia. I'll sponsor you. I'll do this. It's like they want to latch on to someone who's already, now all of a sudden they're achieving success. You've worked with them since they had diapers on, and now these guys will like, I'll take it from here. I'll take it from here. Thank you. And that annoys the crap out of me. I don't like guys that try to poach people like backstage at a show right from under you. Meanwhile, they had no interest before that. Totally disrespectful. That's just self-serving, and they're trying to use their notoriety to make it seem like, hey, I'll make you an Olympia champ. If anything, I'm like King said, I'm like Chad. I never compliment people unless they are unbelievable and it's the day of the show and they just won the show. Because when you start throwing out too many compliments, it comes off as insincere and it kind of sometimes reinforces negative behavior. I hate guys that go up and say, oh, if you work with me, I'll make you Olympia champ, because you know that's not the case. There's only one Olympia guy, every 10 years. So to me, that's a little disrespectful. There's plenty of athletes to go around. If you have to go backstage and poach an athlete, to me, that's bush. That's like, you should be out. I mean, they shouldn't even let you backstage if that's what you're doing.
Final point. I'm going to go around the horn, and I want you to encapsulate this within 20 to 25 seconds. When you think of yourself, and let's be real here, be completely real, lay it out on the line, because, again, we are dealing with a very top-line panel of coaches, and a lot of people watching have either worked with you or view you as such. When you think about yourself as opposed to other coaches in the industry, do you look at yourself and say, you know what, I'm the best. I am the best coach out there. I'm the most knowledgeable. I've the most accomplishments, so on and so forth. Or do you say to yourself, yeah, that person's good, but you know what, for this particular athlete, I just may be better. How do you view yourself, or do you just look at yourself and say, you know what, screw the rest. If they're not coming with me, they're getting a second-rate coach. King, 3 scenarios, 25 seconds, go.
No, I think I'm elite. I definitely think I'm one of the best out there. It's because I care about my clients. That's one of the number one things I always tell. At the end, it never fails. I always get letters and gifts, especially from the girls, and they cry backstage, and they all come to me and say, you actually care. I was like, of course, I care about you guys. I want to make sure that you had this experience. I want the journey to be good for them, too. From beginning to end, I want the journey to be, because it's a life-changing experience. It really is. It really changes their lives for the better, I think. And yeah, I absolutely. Come on, man. I'm King Kamali. I think I'm the best, man. You know that.
Love it. Matt.
I think I'm one of the best. Everyone wants to be the best. I think there's a lot of great coaches. I think what makes me stand out is that I'm empathetic. I live the lifestyle. I'm always doing the rigors of dieting and training, so I'm always compassionate with the competitor, so I can relate to them. I'm very relational and personable. So I can always be in touch with them and communicate with them on their level. And the people talk for me. I don't need to boast about myself. They can just talk to other people. And that's it, man. I don't have much to say.
FAKHRI.
I mean, I think I'm one of the best coaches out there. You know, again, numbers don't lie. I've been doing this for 28 years. I'm one of the best coaches out there because not only do I help people compete, but I help people get through the competition if I need to, and help them financially and everywhere else if I have to. Also, you know, I've been doing this for a long time, and I've had a lot of other chances to do other things in life, and I haven't. My life has revolved around bodybuilding. And everything that I do and I have, I still say, first and foremost, I'm an IFBB pro. And I live this life, and that's what I am. I am a bodybuilder.
Dave.
You know, I think there's a lot of great coaches out there. And for me to say I'm the best would be, you know, egotistical, because I don't think there's I think there's a level of what we would call elite coaches. I think that, you know, I think everyone on this panel probably fits into that category, and I would put myself up there as well. I think one of the things that, you know, is important to me as a coach, we all have different, you know, things that are important. Some guys want wins, some guys want something that's important to me is allowing, and I've learned this myself because I was an extremist. I wanted bodybuilding. I wanted to be the best, the most muscle, the most ripped, the most this. And then I kind of lost, I didn't really have a good balance on my life. And I think that it's important as a coach also not just to get people in shape, but to shape their experience. You know, the experience of going through a contest prep is like it's like a microcosm of life. I mean, if you could accomplish, you know, achieving your best conditioning on stage, you could accomplish anything in life if you apply the same process. And I think that's important. That's something that I, you know, really impart on my athletes. You know, wouldn't say I'm a psychologist, but I do a lot of psychological counseling of my athletes because when they have problems, they call me up and I help them work through it. And that's part of the coaching process as well as making sure they're healthy. Because let's face it, bodybuilding is a small portion of your life. At some point, you're going to actually want to live a long time if you have a family and be a father and a grandfather and enjoy the rest of life. So, you know, if you do stupid things to yourself and cause you to lose your kidneys or, you know, have a heart attack or a stroke or liver, you know, failure, then you're going to have a miserable end of your life, you know. So while the beginning of the life should be a good experience, I think you got to do things in a smart way to protect your health so that you have a rest of your life. And I think a lot of bodybuilders don't think about the rest of their life when they're doing this, and I think it's the coach's, you know, job to also allow them to stay healthy too, to make sure they monitor their health. And I think that's the responsibility of a good coach. And I think most of the people on this panel probably adhere to that. But I think a lot of these novice coaches out there don't adhere to that. They're just so preoccupied with trying to get good results from people that they hit them with crazy dosages. They never bring them off cycle. And I think that becomes dangerous. And I think that's where young coaches that don't really know what they're doing are dangerous because they don't see the big picture. So as a coach, I think that I have a very good grasp on that. And that's, once again, because I've been doing this, you know, 25, 30 years like FAKHRI and King have been doing it. So we've been around the block a few times and we've seen the great stuff go on in the sport. We've seen the tragedy, you know, and we saw a lot of tragedy this past summer, you know, with the death of Dallas McCarver and Rich Piana and the list goes on. So I think we have a responsibility to our athletes, more so just than to get them in shape, but to also make sure that they become functional human beings in their life.
And on that note, that is going to do it for this episode of Iron Debate. Special thanks to FAKHRI and Matt, who just 24 hours ago had a showdown on Facebook, but were man enough to come on this show and hash it out. And again, that's the kind of thing that the fans want to see and the fans respect. So again, kudos to both of you. And of course, King Kamali bringing it as always.
East Coast, baby. East Coast.
For Dave Palumbo and our producer, Tyler Schroeder, doing a great job as always. I'm Sadiq Faruqi reminding you to keep it locked to rxmuscle.com.
Thank you, everyone. God bless.